Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the From the Heart Business Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we're on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts Larry Levine and Daryl Amy.
Hiring salespeople based on a resume or a great interview is like drafting players based on their Instagram highlights. They look amazing in the clips. That's until the real game starts.
Exactly. Every CEO's been there. The interviews go great. You think you're bringing a top performer onto your team, but once they hit the field, they can't close, won't prospect, and blame the leads.
That's exactly why we recommend Sales Index Unlimited Candidate Assessments. It's your sales recruiting engine that screens every candidate against 21 proven sales competencies, benchmarked against 2.5 million sales professionals worldwide. That is more than a personality profile. You'll know with confidence who can sell and who will actually do the work.
Because the best teams don't just fill positions, they build a bench. They're always scouting for great players who can perform under pressure.
For just $2.99 a month, you can build your own bench of ready-to-sell talent, coachable, driven, and proven before they ever get the jersey.
So stop guessing. Start scouting like a pro.
Go to unlimited.salesindex.ai. That's unlimited.salesindex.ai and start building your next sales all-star team today. Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Daryl Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Oh, not much. Hey, another fabulous day here at Selling from the Heart. Great seeing you, Daryl. I think we're going to be in for a really good treat with our guest, Daryl Amy.
Yeah, our friend Craig Klein is going to expand your mind as we talk about technology and AI in sales, something we don't talk about a whole lot on Selling from the Heart, and I know is going to be a phenomenal conversation. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We love this global community of sales professionals. We love connecting with you. We love the conversations we get to have throughout the week, and we love giving a shout out to one of our friends at the beginning of every show.
You know, absolutely. I just had a recent great conversation with Richard Vickers, and I know you listen to the podcast because you said you've listened to the podcast when we were in our conversation. I appreciate you. Our community appreciates you, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we've got a fun guest today. Today's guest understands something critical in today's sales environment. That's technology. And specifically, that technology doesn't replace great selling, it amplifies it. Craig Klein is the founder and CEO of SalesNexus, a CRM and sales automation platform designed to help small and mid-sized businesses maximize revenue through smarter systems, better follow-up, and stronger relationships. With decades of experience at the intersection of sales, marketing, and technology, Craig has seen firsthand how the right tools used the right way can transform performance. He believes sales technology should empower reps, not overwhelm them, create clarity, not complexity, and strengthen relationships and not automate them away. And he's here with us today. Craig, welcome to Selling from the Heart. It's great to have you here.
Hey, guys. So glad to be here.
No, it's our pleasure. Thanks, Craig.
We're going to have a fun conversation today. And as we get started, Craig, you know the question that every guest on Selling from the Heart answers, and that is, what does Selling from the Heart mean to you?
Yeah, well, you know, I can't say that I entered my sales career, you know, having this in my heart, so to speak, right? When I was young and starting my first sales job, I thought selling from the heart meant putting a whole bunch of money in your wallet, right? Or something like that. But I learned sort of the hard way that it's just about serving others, right? Just finding a way to help the people that you're encountering every day. Might be the receptionist, it might be the person at the fast food restaurant in between meetings, but one way or the other, trying to give before you ask, right? And especially with your customers, that mindset sets you apart from everyone else. And it just opens all kinds of doors to great things that aren't always money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's interesting about this? There's a great age-old saying, with age comes wisdom. And there's a lot of that can be said, because I think our viewpoint on sales changes over time, from when we first enter sales to our midpoint in our career, and for those that are in the twilights of our career. I
Sure.
think there's some merit to exactly what you just said.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I was, it was all about just go get the money, go get the money. And in fact, my management told me that's what it was about.
Well,
So
that's so true. My story was exactly the same. No question about that. Well, just as our thoughts and our opinions about sales and how we approach sales has evolved, one thing that's evolving very, very quickly is technology right now. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your perspective on this, especially as someone who believes in relationships and believes in authenticity and selling from the heart. There is a dizzying amount of advance in technology right now. And I know a lot of our friends in sales are not always, they lean a little, usually we lean a little more towards the relational side and less towards the technological side. What would you say to our friends in sales who are maybe have been and are continuing to get more and more overwhelmed with technology?
yeah. Wow. Well, I don't know. Get used to it. I mean, it's insane right now. Like, how do you even know what the world of selling is going to look like in a year or two, right? Much less 5 or 10 years from now. I mean, everybody's trying to create an agent to do selling type tasks for them. I see a lot of our competitors, sort of making that a core part of their product, right? And we've gone in the opposite direction. We've just decided that, that's going to be a chaotic world for a while, where people are trying to automate the people out of the transaction, right? And that'll work in some areas for sure, but I think there's other areas that it's just never going to work, right? That where I'm not going to spend $500,000 on some big industrial machine or a piece of commercial real estate or whatever without talking to somebody, and building a relationship with somebody that I trust. And that's who we're kind of building our platform for, because we don't think that's going to change next year,
Hey, you know what I like about what you just said, and I think that I see a lot of validity around this, Craig, is I've always said the higher the dollar amount, the more people are involved. And the
Sure.
more people are involved means y'all have to have conversations, and you can't hide behind technology. You got to artfully blend both together. Agree?
Right. Yeah, that's right. The technology should be helping you get connected to have those conversations and making you effective in the conversations, but it shouldn't be getting in the way of the conversation. Or like you said, Larry, a barrier, or a screen that you hide behind. I think, it's probably tempting for some salespeople, right? When I was a young salesperson, call reluctance is a real thing, right? You just kind of don't want to pick up the phone sometimes. You're afraid of what might happen, right? And so when you're given 20 different tools you can use to try and reach customers without getting on the phone with them, you're going to spend a little more time with that, right? But the technology now can easily be configured so that it doesn't act as that kind of barrier for you to hide behind. It just gives you everything you need and the confidence you need to jump onto that call and be effective, and also gives your management data to see, hey, it seems like Craig keeps waiting 15 minutes in between every call. Why is his pace so slow? Maybe I need to sit and talk with him or something, right? I mean, that's what we're looking at now is, that kind of coaching built into the tech stack, so that even though your manager doesn't have the time to come down the hallway and say, hey, Craig, what's going on? The tech is telling you, hey, your pace is a little off. Here's some suggestions.
It's such an interesting world. I think all of us listening in can remember the first time we got on ChatGPT a couple of years ago, right? And we're like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And next thing you know, we're using it to help us improve our emails and maybe come up with some ideas for proposals and all of that, which is amazing. What's on the horizon? Where are you seeing sales professionals leverage the latest technology in some effective ways that maybe our listeners haven't thought about yet?
Well, I think it's what I just mentioned is one area, right? Just kind of
Mhm,
that, imagine onboarding salespeople, right? That's always a point of great leverage and great risk, right? Um,
mhm,
and what I see with our customers over the years is where people most often fail is the manager just doesn't have the time to do the nurturing and the coaching that new salesperson needs, right? And so they have a big, they wash them out pretty quick, right? And there's a lot of
mhm.
so that's an area where I think technology and AI can easily help. The the pieces and parts of that puzzle are already right there in hand. But then imagine extending that same capability or same concept to contracts, right? If I'm writing my contracts and managing them in the CRM, or it's connected, that my data store of contracts and so on,
Mhm.
and profitability is all connected to one AI, right? Then the AI can look at all of that and tell me when I'm creating a new contract, because of what we know about all your other customers and where the profits have come from and where the risks have come from and so on, and what's going wrong and what's going right. Here's some tweaks to the boilerplate contract that we're going to recommend this time, right? So
Mhm.
dynamically, the system is helping you improve your business at a real kind of granular way that, in any organization I've ever worked in before AI, how would you do that? You would
Mhm.
have a 6-month study where your accountants are running around gathering data and your production people, everybody's sitting in conference rooms for hours and hours, right? And now
Yeah.
we don't have to just go for the big home runs because of all that investment of time. It can be just little incremental things that happen every day, you know?
I like this. I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying, and can we just get a little? Can you walk us through a little bit more granular on this? Because I'm fascinated. Like when you say contracts, I'm just envisioning um, different layers inside of a company. From upper level management to mid level management to sales managers to salespeople, feeding documents or something like this to start pooling this all together. And again, you know way more about this than I do, but I'm just envisioning, right? CRMs, it's like the output's based on the input. So something tells me you got to get very strategic on the input of all of this in order to extract all of this.
Yeah, that's a great question, Larry. And I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding about how AI works out there. I mean, heck, to be honest with you, I'm still drinking from the fire hose, trying to figure it out and keep up with all the latest stuff. 6 months ago, I was completely ignorant. Now, what I know is that, AI is all about context, right? And there's a lot of offerings in the marketplace, not just in the CRM or sales world, but in general, where the interface that you're using for the AI is also trying to be the central storehouse of all the information that it's using as your context to answer your questions, right? Um, so what we're doing, and it's kind of unique in our space, is that we're building our platform so that you don't have to put everything into SalesNexus so our AI can do these really smart things. You just have to connect to all these other remote, random, sometimes proprietary data stores that you have. So if you have a Microsoft SharePoint drive where you've been managing your proposals and contracts for 10 years, right? And you don't want to change that. You don't have to. You just connect the system to that, or if you have some custom, back end operations database that, again, you don't want to change it because it's controlling machines back there in your production floor. You don't have to. We just need to connect to that data, and then our system sees that as more context to help you make decisions.
Which I would see, like, as a sales professional, what to me, what's exciting about this, and I'm curious your perspective on this, but what's exciting is stuff that we used to have to dig for, or maybe never really even got access to. You think about the relatively limited amount of time you have to prepare for a lot of meetings, sometimes even high stakes meetings. And, and you go, okay, well, I got what I got, and I'm going to try to make sense of it. But we've got, a near future, and in some cases a realized future now, where everything is there and connected together in a way that the technology can actually help synthesize it and bring it to life in a way that you can actually use it as a sales professional. And to me, that future is really, really exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's, today, what you can do is, while you're talking to a customer, whether it be in like an online meeting like this, or on the phone, or in a in-person meeting, as long as you got some kind of a digital screen in front of you, in real time, it's recommending questions to ask, responses to overcome objections, all of those kind of things that otherwise, like you say, Daryl, you got to, normally what you would do is sort of, kind of mentally rehearse and prepare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it can be more real time. Not that that's always the best approach. You probably want to do a little bit of both, right? Get that, sort of pre-call prep so that it's all top of mind. And then when they throw you a curveball in the conversation, that's when that real time help can happen. They bring up some objection or terms or whatever that you've just never encountered before, and it knows how to answer that, right?
Hey, what I'm sitting here starting to think about, Daryl, is the trust formula. And I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but Craig, in the selling in a post-trust world, we've introduced the trust formula, which is authentic relationships and meaningful value. And as I'm sitting here listening to this conversation, this is about bringing meaningful value and leveraging technology, as we're talking about. So in real time, a sales professional can bring real meaningful value like that. That's what I'm tracking here, Daryl.
Yeah, I love that. Sure. Imagine that it's almost like you bring in your engineer to every sales, right? So, the customer says, well, what about so-and-so? And you say, well, I'm not sure. Hey, Bob, can you help us out with that? And Bob's got an answer like that,
Yeah. And I think about the potential as well to, as sales professionals, one of the tasks we always have to do is be the bridge between what our company can deliver and the problems our client has to solve. We've got to make that bridge. We've got to demonstrate business value, and being able to have some tools that can help synthesize all of that and bring it all together and go, okay, you know what? Here's what this company needs. Here's what we do. Here's how we can express value to this person. And this has always been the job of sales professionals, but to have an assistant that can help, help us think through that quickly and be able to articulate value in a way that's more meaningful. I see higher win rates. I see higher, profit margins. I see I see more customer loyalty, like a lot of good potential coming out of being able to clearly articulate value. And AI's got some good potential to help us do that. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Although what I would say is that, making salespeople more effective in the moment, right? That's important, of course. However, I feel like the actual sort of low hanging fruit with all of this is the forgotten deals, the things that slip through the cracks, right? That's the constant drumbeat that we've heard for, decades, right? That, I talk to customers all the time, right? They're sending out quotes left, right, and center. If they're looking at a pipeline report that's based upon quote volume, everything looks wonderful, right? But the problem is, half of them just get stuck and the customer ghosts you and whatever, right? And the salespeople, especially when you get to that scale where your salespeople are just quoting all day, they just don't have the mental bandwidth to keep track of those, 50 quotes they did this week, right? They remember the 10 or so that, for whatever reason, stuck in their mind. So this kind of automation can help you keep those moving forward, right? And make it easy and fast, right? So that even though somebody's ghosting you, it's going to suggest to you, hey, here's some tactics that you might employ to get them back on the phone. Or would you like me to send them an email, inviting them to an appointment, or offer them a discount, or whatever's appropriate, so that you're capturing that 50% of the pipeline that otherwise just kind of goes cold,
Hey, so this, my mind's spinning right now, Craig Klein. So I'm sitting there thinking about like this ghosting and resurrecting, this low hanging fruit and the things that you're thinking about. Now I'm thinking about this sales manager who's going through I'm making this term up, a ghosting pipeline or whatever. This person can actually then say, hey, walk me through the last 5 opportunities that went south. What was the common theme behind all of this based on all of this criteria? Am I tracking what you're throwing down?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, run the system for a month, right? And look at what all my salespeople do, their close rates, their ghosting rates, where things get stuck, et cetera, right? And look at all of that. Now recommend changes in my process, in my pipeline. Here's some suggested changes in tactics or things we're talking about in the sales calls, messages we're sending via emails, the way we're presenting the proposal, all of that, now, it's just, you just have to know how to ask the question right? And because the system has all that data, that context now to answer the question. So it's, again, it's back to the same thing we talked about earlier. What I see the sort of big change here is we have to start thinking about little incremental improvements that are taking place kind of every day, a little bit at a time, sometimes almost invisibly, right? Rather than once a quarter, we do some kind of post-mortem type analysis and we make big changes, So that's within the people process, but in the tech process as well.
Well, it's so powerful. As we wrap up, I just want to think about, I know there's some people, maybe you're still listening, maybe you haven't tuned out, that are technology skeptics. And you're like, my entire sales career, people have been telling me to use technology. And and they've been the ones who've just been stiff arming it the whole way.
Right. Sure.
What would you say to those folks to encourage them or possibly change their mindset around this?
Well, honestly, I would say that some of those kind of people that I've met are often the best salespeople walking on the planet, right? They know that the most important part is the people part, right? And they don't want the tech getting in their way, right? So to me, that's the customer I want to make happy. I want them to love our platform. What we're envisioning as our next edition is a mobile experience where you just talk to the phone and it does the stuff for you after the meeting, right? You don't need to go sit down at your desk, so it's more of a agentic system, right? Where you finish the meeting, and in the meeting, the next steps agreed to were we're going to prepare a proposal for you, and I'm going to come back over on Tuesday to present it to you, right? Well, the agent is automatically preparing that proposal for you to review and approve, and it's working with the customer's calendar or whatever to get that meeting on Tuesday on the calendar, right? So it's kind of taking the tech out of your face, right? So that you're just spending more time with customers. That's what I hope, and that's kind of where we're heading.
Hey, I'm thinking about all the time that somebody can repurpose now. Huge, absolutely huge, and repurposing time to be a lot more productive and remove the excuses.
Right. Yeah. That's, the vision is I should be able to walk into a sales team that maybe each sales rep has, 3 meaningful sales meetings a day or something, right? And a month later, we should be able to show management that they're now having 4 or 5 or 6 or who knows how many every day, because the other stuff's just out of their way, right?
So good. Well, Craig, what a great conversation. I know our listeners are asking the same question I am. How do you get more Craig Klein in your life?
Just go to salesnexus.com. That's where you can learn more about the platform. And we're doing webinars a lot right now about different ways that AI is touching the sales profession. And so there's a lot there to grab a hold of.
Love it.
Oh, this is good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah. Craig, thanks for sharing your time and your expertise with us today. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. It's great to be here. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Awesome. Awesome. What a fun conversation, Larry, and such an amazing time to be alive. And I just want to camp out a little bit on this last little segment for our friends who are, skeptical. We have very relational selling audience, and I just want to encourage you, be open-minded to technology in this season right now, because things are coming to the table that I think are really, really going to be helpful to all of us in ways that, maybe we haven't had before. And I would hate for you to miss out on that. So what a great conversation with Craig.
Absolutely. And again, I just want to play on that. I'd encourage everyone to keep an open mind to this, because this is how you can actually enhance the relational strength that you have. So as we wrap, I got to challenge everyone. Everyone's familiar with AI. It's not like, unless you've been hiding behind a rock the last couple of years. Let's start really strategically figuring out how we can leverage this to help us build authentic relationships and bring meaningful value, instead of leveraging AI to create some like artsy crafty characters and all of that you see out there. Let's really think as sales leaders and salespeople, how can we leverage this to enhance the relational strength that we have with our clients?
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. We've got great episodes coming up throughout the rest of this spring and this summer. You don't want to miss it, so make sure to like or subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, lean into technology, and most of all,
sell from the heart.